Like with all things in life, the bigger the buildup, the bigger the explosion. Whether it's eating large amounts of Taco Bell, which inevitably leads to a long, sometimes painful trip to the bathroom, or whether it's passionate lovemaking that ends in a kind of explosion of its own, or perhaps even years and years of pent-up rage that expresses itself in an emotional, sometimes physical explosion. One thing remains true in all cases. The explosion eventually comes. And there's no bigger explosion than the one that this buildup in Bitcoin is creating right now. So if you believe in the bust with every fiber of your being, hit that like and subscribe. Get signed up with Femex Blog, my Bitcoin altcoins are trade. And without any further ado, let's completely dump on in where we see here, as Kaleo points out on X, he doesn't know how anyone can look at this chart and actually think that it's going higher. It looks like we're about to absolutely dump. And as you may have already figured out, this chart is actually inverted. And the real price of Bitcoin is down here, which is higher because it's inverted. This is lower, this is higher. It looks like we're about to get dumped on, but if you really look at it, it actually looks like we're about to get pumped on. It's only a matter of time. The longer we trade sideways, and this is a very well-known rule, basically, is that the longer we trade at a certain resistance, eventually that becomes stronger and stronger support. So let's say we would trade at 110,000 for the next 5 years. That would be, I don't think any asset, especially something like this, has done something like that. But let's just say, for this little thought experiment, we traded 110K for 5 years. And then let's say in a quick week, we shot up to 150K. If we would ever come back down to 110K again, it would be the strongest support that exists on the chart by infinity. The longer you typically build a lot of trading volume and you see a lot of price action, you see that demand really battle at a certain level, it becomes either stronger resistance or stronger support, depending on where it is along that line. If it's above it and it comes down, very strong support. If it's underneath it and then eventually tries to go back up to it, could be resistance, right? And so I think that's exactly where we're at with Bitcoin right now. The last time this also happened with Bitcoin, an ABC correction with a long consolidation and a breakout retest, if we actually zoom in and you can kind of look at the differences between now or the similarities even between now and the, not the prior bull cycle, but the one before that, we see a lot of similarities. Specifically, as I just pointed out, if we see this resistance like we saw back in the mid-2010s, like we see this resistance now, like we're seeing in the mid-2020s, and we eventually go above it, one, that builds amazing support. I mean, if you look actually back here, we never retested this again because Bitcoin just went up and up and up. And I think that's very likely going to be something similar here as, 100K. I mean, that's another thing. Let's say Bitcoin gets to a 200K within the next few months, or let's say in the next 5 years it gets to like 1 million or something. 100K is going to be one of those gigantic landmark levels, just like 10K is as well. Did we come back down to 10K in the most recent crash? No, we got pretty close. We got down to about 15 or 16K, but for us to get down to about 10K, it would have looked like this on the chart, right? But look at this. Look how much time we spent at 10K before we actually concretely busted above it, right? We spent a couple of years kind of battling mainly around $10,000. You see it all here, and then all of this range was around 10K. And when we finally popped it, it just went straight up. And then years later, we crashed, but we didn't come back down to 10K, which again would be like all the way down here. We didn't do that. I think the same thing's going to be here, right? We see about 100K is right about here on the chart. Whenever we pop above it, I think it's very likely going to be in the past, a distant memory. And we're in the middle of doing that right now. I don't see any reason to be rushing that, but I think it's coming quick. And we also see I'm not going to like preach, and this is not like a therapy channel, right? I'm not here to like be a psychologist or try and make you feel good or something. But basically, if you don't, like, let's say for example you have 0.1 Bitcoin, which this guy tweeted this guy posted on Reddit saying like, he starts off by saying, I know it's not a lot, but for him it's a lot and stuff like that, and he's continuing to do it and to help his kids and all that. That's the right mindset to have, right? You shouldn't be looking at this like, oh, I can only I can only afford, you know, zero point 0.1 or 0.01 or something. First of all, as this top comment says, the first amount is the hardest, right? And over time, truly, it compounds insanely well, as we've seen in the past. So if you're afraid to get into Bitcoin or if you're like discouraged from getting into it because you think, oh, you know, I can't even afford a whole Bitcoin, or I can't even afford a tenth of a Bitcoin or something, don't let that discourage you, right? Don't also try not to, this is why I said I'm not a therapy channel, because I am kind of, I sound almost like a therapist a little bit, but don't let that discourage you. Don't let it, don't compare yourself to other people as well. Over time, that 0.1 Bitcoin or that 0.01 Bitcoin is going to be very sought after, in my opinion. It's going to be insanely more lucrative or a lot more profitable, a lot more valuable than it is currently. So if you're somebody watching and maybe you have a small amount or something like that, don't feel bad about that, right? If anything, you know, put your head down and keep working and understand that it's okay to not, you know, I would never, don't be embarrassed if you have any amount of Bitcoin, right? I mean, same with any investing. Like you shouldn't feel bad about yourself in general. Actually, yeah, now I just sound like a therapist, but it's true. What I'm saying is true, but I guess a lot of you guys are probably not here to listen to me. Actually, you know what? Yeah, just keep going. Just keep doing the best you can. We also see here almost all liquidity is to the upside, and there are a lot of stops above 100K, 110K specifically, that are not safe. Basically, if those get triggered, massive short squeeze likely. That's big. Top comment here also says, when everyone feels the euphoria, again at this peak, it will be in fact fake euphoria, then shorts can get knocked up again. We also see no euphoria. We've notoriously known this for months and months and months. This is the least euphoric bull run that we've ever seen. This is the least euphoric the market has ever been at all-time highs. It's crazy. Bitcoin is at all-time highs right now. Like it's at all-time highs. It's at like give or take 1 or 2% or something. We're sitting right at all-time highs. And this is the least euphoric the market's ever been. Good sign. But what are we seeing? Why are people not interested right now? Why is it hard to even make videos? Why are people like really pessimistic right now? Because look at this. We initially came up to 110 back in January, so about like 6 or 7 months ago. Then we got dumped on, but we recovered, and now we're just still at that same level. Actually, this looks like a bikini, or like right. But anyway, so 110, we've been kind of just playing with this for the entire year, and we haven't really gone much above it. Altcoins have been getting destroyed, doing even less than Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's been doing pretty well, but altcoins have just been doing awful. And so it is boring. But this is not the time to lose interest. Actually, it's okay to lose interest and have other hobbies, but now is not the time to get uninvested. Because this type of trading is, you know, the most important. This type of trading is exactly what happens before these really big moves. For example, Bitcoin inverse head and shoulders pattern is currently, in my opinion, and also technically on these charts, objectively looks like it's forming. 3-day RSI and price are both forming inverse head and shoulders patterns. For breakout, need to get above 110 or a RSI close above 70, which we have not seen just yet. And then, rallies can resume after that. We're just kind of waiting for these final confirmations. It could take another couple days. It could take another couple weeks, right? Now, there is something interesting I want to talk about in a second regarding that, but also let's take a look at this. You can fail at everything else in life, but basically just understanding Bitcoin before 2026, so you're still not too late with that. 99% of the population still doesn't. So if you can do that, you will be benefiting over the next few decades. Very, very, very few things in life do people have such an obvious and lucrative opportunity as this one. And it's crazy that this still has not completely taken over the world. But I think after this next pump, this next wave of adoption, I think that's going to change. And I think that's going to be this year and next year. Like, you don't have a lot of time left. Now, what I was just saying too, this happens every post-halving year. Q3s typically flip bullish for Bitcoin. Bitcoin averages about 15% in July in gains and about almost 40% in August. That's almost about a 60% gain in just about 2 months. Even a 30% move from here would send Bitcoin to about a 140 or even almost 150. We can see historically this data, this is objective, right? This is not an opinion. Q3s have been very historically pretty profitable during these bull market years. And specifically, also, we do know as well that Q4s, specifically like November and December, often also historically pretty pumpy years, right? Or pretty pumpy months. And if we look at just Bitcoin on these longer term charts as well, we continue to see these like cup and handle type patterns where Bitcoin trades. I mean, look, right? This happens so often. Look, resistance here for so long, and people lose hope around these levels, and then it goes up. People lose hope around these levels, and it goes up. People are losing hope around these levels. What happens if it goes up? Are you gonna miss out? And even if you don't understand Bitcoin, just this chart alone should give you some insight on why you should probably buy some. This is the U.S. national debt. Does this graph, does it look like it's going to be going down anytime soon? This goes back like the last 30 years. If anything, it's increasing. It's just going up faster and faster, sharper and sharper, more up. Pretty much you should be looking for any option that isn't just keeping your money in the US dollar. And if you do some research, obviously Bitcoin becomes like that option where it's like, wow, okay, this actually has a real chance of debasing, or at least protecting, insulating yourself from the current devaluation of the US dollar, but also the national debt, which is insane. I don't know the actual statistics, but are we putting on like $1 trillion of debt like every 6 months or something? I know we're putting on over $1 trillion of debt every single year, which is insane, right? For many years, we weren't hitting $1 trillion of debt for many years. Now it's over $1 trillion per year. It's crazy. But also, yeah, I mean, looking at the daily, there's not much to say in terms of just the daily. As I just said already, we're still trading in that same range. And there's going to be a time when you look at this and we're going to be blowing past it. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be a month from now. Nobody knows. But all I do know is that, well, at least in my strong opinion, the next major move is going to be up. And I just don't, I've seen this many, many times in the past 8 years. I would not want to miss out on it. It truly changes your life if you stay invested in this asset. I don't know a single person who's been invested in Bitcoin for the same amount of time as me, or even a little less, and hasn't completely changed their life financially. Everybody that I know that has invested and has this is the key. They've invested, but they've stayed invested, and they have not panic sold and panic bought, and they stayed true to just this simple strategy of just buying it over time. All of them are much more well off than if they wouldn't have done that. Now, I do know people that panic sell and panic buy at horrible times because they see it going down. They're like, oh, I got to sell, or they see it going up and they think, oh, I want to buy. But I mean, that's baby investing 101 is that not to do that, right? Everyone knows that. Actually, I think a lot of people know that, but not everybody actually practices it. I think a lot of people just can't stick to their plan or something. But if you can just stick to a plan, you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be better than anyone. You just have to have a plan and stick to it, which is something that if you do that with your life in general, typically is a better way of going through life in general, is just having a basic plan and not deviating from that plan, right? US dollar, garbage. Anything else big on this? I mean, the S&P, are we at like all-time highs basically? Yeah, we're at all-time highs for the S&P. NASDAQ and Dow Jones are also up today. I'm really bullish. There's a lot of sideways trading, but honestly, trading at all-time highs sideways for prolonged amounts of time, even though it is boring, I do like trading sideways at all-time highs because it literally any moment we could be blasting above them. If we were trading at like 70K or 90K even down here, it's not super exciting to be trading sideways because really, even if we get a pump, we're not going to be at all-time highs. Right now, we're literally at all-time highs. So if we do get a pump, that's when things can just ramp up like crazy fast. We're on the edge of our seats right now. You should be, because we're right on the edge of a new all-time high. And new all-time high, as we just pointed out, right? If you look on a weekly, look at this. You're just trading sideways doing nothing. And then all of a sudden you see one of these mega moves like we saw back in 2020 or like we saw back in 2016, 2017, these mega moves that just come out of nowhere. They don't really come out of nowhere. They come out of all-time high breaks. And we're right there right now. So yeah, I know it's kind of boring right now, but at literally any moment, we could start pumping. And that's pretty big. And get signed up with FMX below if you know how Bitcoin altcoins are trade. Without any further ado.